Thank you, Don, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for turning out tonight to help us celebrate renewal for the Republican Party in our town, in our state, and in our nation. It is a new day for Republicans. We're done sitting Shiva. We're looking ahead to what we have to do to win in 2014. And we have to. You could argue that 2014 is the most critical election in the history of our nation. Because if we lose the Republican majority in the House of Representatives, or fail to gain a Republican majority in the Senate, we run the risk of having the present administration do exactly what they said they would do, which is create a fundamental transformation of our dear nation. And I don't want to live there. So how are we going to do that? Well, you're hearing a lot of things about that. You're hearing about get out the vote processes, and you're hearing about new software for tracking voters and mobile applications and all sorts of new websites and things like that. Folks, all the technology in the world isn't going to help us unless we start from a position of principle. And we will not win unless we coalesce around the basic principles of fiscally conservative, smaller government that allow people that individual freedom that America was based on. So each of us in this room as the activists in the Republican Party here in Rhode Island have to go to school and learn how to articulate that message. And we're going to have to be lectured on principle. And we're going to have to be coached on telling people about principles. And we're going to have to hear some cheerleading about principles, and not least of which we're going to have some examples of how it really does work in the real world. Well, I can think of no one better to start that process than our featured speaker tonight. You all know Colonel Allen West. You've heard the stories. You've heard the story of the 22-year sterling, stellar Army career, destined for the stars, no doubt, that on one afternoon got flipped around because Colonel West knowingly, willingly, and gladly traded it for something that was really important, the safety of one of the troops under his command. And people say that he made that decision in a heartbeat. I don't think it took that long. I think if you got principles, what you got is a plan. And it was a reflex. And so now, without any kind of preparation or advance notice, a chapter has just changed in the man's life. So what does he do? Oh, I know. Go to Congress, see what happens down there. God bless him for doing that. And in one term in the U.S. House of Representatives, Colonel Allen West has become one of the strongest voices in the public discourse here in America. And he stands for something. Mike Riley, how long has Jim Langevin been in Congress? 7 terms? 13th year right now. They don't know him in Connecticut. Forget about Montana. Yeah, who's Jim Langevin? So here you have a person who has not only become a strong voice, but in that process become quite a little lightning rod. And you know, we get defined as much by the enemies we make as the allies. And so as a result, when it came time for his re-election campaign, Colonel West was treated to a brand newly redistricted district that was tailor-made to be a real heavy lift for him. And he got to run against no less a shining light of the worldwide progressive left than George Soros. Actually, there was some other guy's name on the ballot, but make no mistake, it was Soros's money. It was Soros's minions, and it was Soros's rules for radicals that were all brought to bear on this guy because they were afraid of him because he had principles and knew what to do with them. And you know what? He came that close to beating him anyways. And there are those in his district in Florida that say he did beat him. And I recognize it as one more service to his district, his state, and his nation when he said, look, it's time to stop the agony of this endless recount. Let's move ahead. So there he was with another chapter change in his life. Well, what's he going to do now? I think we're going to hear a little bit about that in just a moment. But I look forward to seeing the example of what each of us in this room needs to do and needs to take to people we see everywhere.